All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to Unidos Unplugged, the podcast where community, culture, and wellness take the spotlight. I am your host, David Villarreal, Unidos contra la Diabetes Outreach Specialist. I'm joined by my co-host and director, Moises Arjona. Say hi, Moses.
Hello.
We're actually also joined today by our data analyst, Ms. Arai. Say hi.
Hi, everyone.
And we are joined with our very special guest, Mr. Joshua Moroles.
Hello. How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today, Mr. Joshua. And if you kind of just want to get into it, tell us a little bit about yourself, what it is that you do, and why you're here today.
Sure. So just before we start, thank you all for having me. I think it's very important that these very niche podcasts, they reach a certain demographic where I don't reach. So I have a very important message to share. So thank you all for allowing me on and helping share that message. I'm a digital marketer, advertiser, and I'm also a podcaster, and I'm also a documentary filmmaker. My newest documentary is about the flooding issues and the health issues that the Rio Grande Valley faces. The first two, they won 20 awards across the United States and the globe, right? This third one, I wasn't going to do a documentary because I couldn't find anything interesting. And then one day on March 27th, the Rio Grande Valley flooded, which it happens often. I didn't realize this. It's kind of like out of sight, out of mind, right? And it flooded, and I saw everybody on social media posting their floods. People were devastated here in the Rio Grande Valley. And that kind of got me writing a fictional script talking about the next Hurricane Beulah that would come, and it would displace 1 in 14 people in the Rio Grande Valley. Displace, I mean, it would kill off 1 in 14 people in the Rio Grande Valley, because if you're familiar with Hurricane Beulah, 125 tornadoes ravaged the Rio Grande Valley. So if we got something like that today with the infrastructure issues that we have, and if people do not leave on time, they don't evacuate on time, 1 in 14 people could possibly perish.
For those young viewers, Beulah happened in
1967.
1967.
Yeah.
And I wasn't born yet, but I heard about it, and I still continue to hear about it because it was really devastating for the Rio Grande Valley.
It really was. And I didn't realize that until I started diving into more information. So we're overdue for the next Hurricane Beulah. And if you see anything now, we're already in hurricane season. I believe 5 to 9 more hurricanes are set to happen until the end of hurricane season, which is relatively short. So the last one we had didn't turn into anything, thank God, because the valley is just not prepared for any of that stuff. So the documentary covers the next Hurricane Beulah and what happens, the flooding after that. And the reason why you all asked me on is because I stumbled upon this website, rgvhealthconnect.org, where I started pulling a bunch of data from, because when you start looking at the data that I was looking at about what happens after the flooding, and the flooding in this documentary specifically talks about the Arroyo Colorado, which is a 90-mile stretch from Mission, Texas, all the way out to Laguna Madre. So in this research, I was just researching, and I found disparities that are going on with the health issues. I found that the Arroyo Colorado was highly contaminated with pesticides, chemicals, banned pesticides, a lot of nasty stuff that's in there to this day that shouldn't be there. And I'm not naive either. I know that the cities have to put their wastewater somewhere, and it has to go somewhere. The Arroyo Colorado, from Mission all the way out to Laguna Madre, every city in between that pushes their wastewater in there. Some of it's treated, some of it's not. A lot of it's not. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes into that Arroyo Colorado, which is like the pesticides from the farms and stuff like that. So, and every time it floods, it inundates that area, and it overflows, and that stuff goes into 82,000 homes, 300 facilities across the Rio Grande Valley. So when you clean it out, people think they sanitize it and all this stuff, but it turns into mold. You get respiratory illnesses, you get high rates of cancer that are known to be from these chemicals. Right. So the chemicals in the Arroyo Colorado have been proven to cause cancer, respiratory illnesses, a lot of nasty stuff, asthma in children. And when I stumbled upon your site, I kind of like, oh, look, here's the data to kind of like back this up. Yeah. So one of the things that I always get pushback on from the site is like, well, what's a diabetes site? I don't know why you're quoting that. Right. So I kind of like, I'm glad y'all came on and invited me on, because we can kind of dispel a lot of the stuff that people are saying on my posts, because right now I'm reaching about 4.6 million people on Facebook, 3.4 million people on Instagram, and over 500,000 people on TikTok within the past 30 days. So what I'm talking about right now people know. Like, they've known for a long time. They have suspicions about what's going on in the Rio Grande Valley. And I've kind of just took the spear, like the head of this, and say, why are there so many sick people here in the Rio Grande Valley? And a lot of people are like kind of like 50-50, like, well, there's nothing going on here. And the other people's like, yeah, there's a huge problem here. But the data does not lie.
The data doesn't lie.
So that's where you all come in, because I quote these things and people are like, well, were you making this stuff up? I was like, dude, I'm literally quoting the site. So and I give them the link too, and then they disappear. Right. And then on the next post, they come back and say, where are you getting this stuff? And I was like, it's right here, guys. Like, and interesting enough, you all talked about that your site wasn't getting too many hits, right? And then all of a sudden it started. I think that was just me.
Yeah.
Like,
Cool. Well, just to defend the deal, for those folks that talk about it's a diabetes website. Well, it's set up that way. To the first thing you log in, you're going to see nothing about diabetes. Mm-hmm. But we, rgbhealthconnect.org is a product of UCD, but we actually source the data from Conduit. And Conduit, they go through all the open sources. They have all this data. They bring it into our site, and it's data relevant to the RGV and compares it to Texas.
So this is not your data.
It's not our data. It's all open source data that comes in. And we put it in there in an easy one-pager or one website for you to view. So you want to look at morbidity, comorbidity rates, or cancer rates, or SNAP rates, whatever the deal is you're looking for, you're going to find it there. Mm-hmm. And it's going to compare it to the United States and Texas. And we pay for the sourcing. So in other words, someone is doing it and putting it in here. Because if not, if Sarina were out there doing it, we'd never finish it. Right. So we do pay the fee for someone to actually, who already does it, and just brings it into our site. Right. And it's easy to use. Yeah. We do import our own data in there as well, and that is more the diabetes stuff from our partners that we're collecting, because that's what our goal is, right? But it's a much more richer database, website, or platform, and it's not just diabetes focused.
Yeah, it really does dive into the nitty gritty, because I'm looking at some stuff on there, and for example, I'm going to quote your all's site throughout this whole thing. 2023, Cameron County released 32,000 pounds of carcinogens into the air. Nobody believes me when I talk about this. Yeah. And then I talk about it started in, because the data doesn't go all the way up to 2025. I think I talked to you about this, right?
Right.
So on that one specifically, you have a 10-year window from 2013 to 2023. And within that time frame, there's 288,000 pounds of carcinogens released into the air. When I say that to people, they're kind of like, they're dumbfounded, because they just do not believe it. Right. But the data does not lie.
The data doesn't lie.
So it's very interesting things, because you see this data and people are kind of like, well, I've never heard about it before, so I'm not going to believe it. But the truth is, like, when you compare it to like Hidalgo County, I think there was only like very small amounts of it. So you got to think about that. Like, what's going on in Cameron County that's not going on in Hidalgo County, and why don't the residents know? Right. There's high rates of cancer, cervical cancer. There's rare cancers in the Rio Grande Valley. And then when a lot of people go to the doctor kind of says, well, you just got a case of bad luck. That question, or that statement, no longer cuts it. Yeah. With everything that's going on here in the Rio Grande Valley, people are starting to wake up like, why are there so many sick people here in the Rio Grande Valley? So I'm glad your site came along, because it does show a lot of different data points, so you can kind of pinpoint things together and parallels and stuff, like to put these things together that the data shows that, all right, this is important, pay attention to it.
Yeah. And so I remember growing up, my dad worked in the fields all his life, and he'd come home and he'd smell like chemicals, pesticides. We weren't wearing protective. We were at home. We got home, and dad would tell us, no, don't hug me. But too late, we already hugged you, and we could smell it. So he had to go take a shower, whatever. But he should have been showering at work, not bringing it with him in the car. So he brought it from work to the car, to the home, and then where do we go out traveling? In the car. Yeah. And so, I mean, so there's a lot of younger people. I mean, I'm 55. I'll be 55 this year, but I have friends already who have already passed away of cancer, and they don't know why. Right. They just didn't realize, why am I dying of cancer? I didn't do anything. Well, it's something that in our environment, obviously. Yeah,
and it's very strange for me to say that too, because like it's the environment that we live in. Like the Rio Grande Valley is notorious for agricultural since the 1900s, right? Since 1930s, these banned pesticides have been used since then, right? And the Rio Grande Valley is just growing faster. I think by 2040, we're supposed to double in population. So if nothing gets done now, Are we going to have double the amount of sick people?
Yeah.
My guess is yes.
Yes, definitely.
So, I mean, like I said, I always have to preface this stuff as I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a chemical engineer, I'm not a data scientist, I'm none of this. I'm a guy on social media that stumbled across this stuff, these data points, and just kind of like putting parallels to it. Like for example, this is another startling thing too, because I'm trying to prove cancer clusters, and I know that they're here. I just can't prove them because the doctors and scientists that I've talked to, nobody wants to come out on camera and physically, like literally say that.
Yeah.
But with your sites, you can see 4 out of the 9 top places in the Rio Grande Valley that have cancer are surrounded by Laguna Madre. So, like I was talking about earlier, is like the Laguna, the Arroyo Colorado goes from Mission all the way out to Laguna Madre. That's where it dumps out. Everything that dumps out goes into Laguna Madre. So you got 4 places there, which is I think it's Rio Hondo, South Padre Island, Port Mansfield, and Port Isabel. All of them are surrounded by Laguna Madre. And those are the 4 out of the top 9 places that have the highest rates of cancer. So you think about that, like you look at it on a map, they're surrounded by the Laguna Madre where everything dumps out in, and it shows that they're the highest rates of cancer. I mean, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, right? But I can put those things together. Yeah. So I think for people to kind of displace that and dismiss it is kind of a disservice to the Rio Grande Valley because like we're notorious for people saying in the valley like no pasa nada.
No pasa nada, no pasa
But the problem is that your children are starting to get leukemia, your family members are starting to get cancer younger. There's younger people in the doctor's offices that are struggling from cancer, leukemia, all this stuff, and these health disparities are getting worse and worse. And it's just getting worse with the floods that are happening and the rain events that are happening because the storms are getting stronger. So if these chemicals are allowed to go into more homes across the Rio Grande Valley, the rates are going to get worse.
Yeah. So do you contribute those cancer to people fishing in the area in the Laguna Madre, and because we're notorious for fishing in canales
sure.
and all that kind of stuff, and we're going where we can. We're going to be fishing, even at the radioactive lake over here in Donna, because you're not supposed to go to. You go and there's people fishing all the time, right? So. So do you attribute it maybe to that too? As well?
I wish I could speak on that. I don't know, and I have to talk to like scientists and doctors because I don't want to make claims.
Right,
I'm putting the information out there for us to start having a conversation about it because apparently nobody's talking about this, and I don't understand why. But the problem becomes like when you have scientists that are saying that the Arroyo Colorado has all these known chemicals that are known to cause cancer and all these illnesses, and people ignore it. I mean, it's kind of concerning. Right. And I don't know if it's just a RGV mentality thing, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, the RGV is notorious for getting examined by universities and all these things. Like, hey, the Rio Grande Valley is a great source. They have the population. They have all this stuff. But at the same time, the population is already surveyed out. They don't want to get tested anymore. They're like, you all come and test us for all these genes and stuff. And then at the end, you leave and didn't tell us anything, which is something that's it's accurate. So what do I want to know if I have the cancer gene if you're not going to give me the cure to it either?
Yeah.
What is that supposed to do? You want me to prevent it, drinking healthier water, doing this, but I'm in an area where it's hard to, right?
Yeah.
Or the poverty. We're severe poverty here too. People don't realize that. So how do you tell people to go and put water filters in their home when they don't have good running water or stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really hard. Or the drainage systems too, right?
And you're right on the filtration because even Texas A&M did a study here in was it Alamo and Progreso? 100% of the samples that they took contained arsenic in the water. Right. And this is where I have a problem with this is because when I was talking to the senator's office in Wesco, they were saying that they gave them Brita filter systems and they got to use them right. Problem is, if you don't educate and inform people, once the filter's life is gone, they're going to keep filtering it, and those things are going to go right back in. So without the education information, continued education information, they're going to go right back to the dirty water.
Right.
And the problem with that, too, is like you're talking about like the tap water. And the Rio Grande Valley is what some city officials would say is safe to drink. And I'm using quotations. People can't see. Yeah. But the problem is with that is your consumer confidence report that you get every single year is 12 to 16 months behind. So if your water is dirty today, if it has E. coli in it today, you won't find out till summer 2026. And that's a huge problem because as more officials say that it's safe to drink, you can clearly see in the consumer confidence report that there's so many chemicals in there, Plus, the disinfectants that they use are also known to cause illnesses in your body over time. So I think it's irresponsible for these city officials to say that it's safe to clean. And also another point on that is like I was at a flooding event, and I kind of I got asked to go talk, give my 5-minute speech, and I kind of dropped the bomb there. Said, why are there so many sick people in the Rio Grande Valley? And I kind of attributed to the environment, right? And at the end, so I can assume somebody that worked for the water board or something like that, he got up there and he was like, well, everybody knows there's arsenic in the water.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that for a few months ago. Like, and I'm relatively plugged in stuff, right? But nobody reads their water report because, for one, you can't even. I can't even say those things on the page because I got bashed on social media because we're not even pronouncing that word right. So I'm not a scientist, but I don't know what this stuff is. So I think it's one thing that I've cracked is the awareness parts where I can get this information out, but now people are asking, well, how do we fix it?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how to do that. I need to find the people that do, but we're on the right path by having the conversation.
Right. And I think you're right. As long as we have that conversation, make people aware, we're able to make those informed decisions to improve our lives and then make those changes. Because the first thing they're going to talk about is we need bukus of money.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have billions of money. No one's giving out billions of money, and we're not going to be able to raise more taxes or put more bonds out there to fix all these things, as important as they might be. But because we're in an area also that's very untrustworthy for our politicians, and unfortunately, that's the way it is. Nobody trusts it, so it's crazy. It's just really crazy.
And also, the Rio Grande Valley is notorious for not wanting to work together with each city.
Oh yeah, we have that too here at UCD.
And
I love everybody. We love our partners in the community. We love them. Yeah.
Well, I know this for a fact because I was showing my documentary, I think last Monday, and one of the city officials from the water place came in. He's like, well, we have the most pristine water in the Rio Grande Valley. He kept claiming this, right? And I was like, fine, right, fine. Yeah. But and then the problem with that is that he said that they're helping Bexar County, Laredo County, and all these other counties, but not the Rio Grande Valley. Because if you think about, like, I was looking at the Consumer Confidence Report for Edinburgh, and they had 0.002 or 0.02 percent arsenic in the water, which is very tiny compared to everywhere else in the Rio Grande Valley. So we want to know how did they do it. Right. That way they can share how they did it for McAllen, for Edinburgh, for all the rest of the Rio Grande Valley. Right. But nobody's working together. Yeah. And I don't understand why. It's because we're the Rio Grande Valley. Like, we kind of are supposed to look over each other. Yeah. But it's kind of like there's a lot of division within the... There
is. And I'm not sure why it is. We go talk about obesity and diabetes and everything else that comes together, right? We call it the cousins. If you have diabetes, you most likely have high blood pressure, you have fatty liver, you have obesity, you have all these other comorbidities, or vice versa. If you have one, you're going to have the other one eventually, right? So we all want to... Everybody wants to work together, and they all want to do it. But at la hora de hora, it's like everyone's on their own, right? We keep harping, don't give out candy at health fairs. You're going to go to get an A1C checked, and I'm talking about our partners at our universities and health systems. They all say, we believe in not the obesity and the diabetes rates. But then you go to the health fair, and there they are giving away candy. Right. Are you trying to keep people sick, or are we trying to keep people healthy? Right. Well, the honest answer is going to be both. Right, because sick people make money. But if they're not sick anymore, then we're you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy, right? So I get you on that. The partners are amazing. The community is amazing. But when it comes down to it, we don't always mesh really well for some reason. And for us, collecting data is hard. We ask the health systems, we ask other partners, doctor's office and stuff, just share the aggregate number of diabetics compared to your patient outcome, and they can't do that. Yeah. And it's disheartening because how can we know if we're making any real changes in our lives in the Rio Grande Valley without that data? Right. But people hoard it. They want to hoard it stuff. So it's one of the things that we have to change that mindset. And not to be mean or anything, but then fall into that old that anecdote? We're all crabs in a bucket.
The crab mentality.
Yeah, crab mentality. Yeah. No.
Apparently that happens everywhere else in the world. So I guess it's not just an RGV thing. Yeah. I'm notorious for calling out the RGV because I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, right? So I am exactly like everyone else in the Rio Grande Valley. I take things for granted. I talk a lot of crap to people. But I am from here. So I think at the end of the day, a lot of people think I have an agenda for pushing the stuff I'm pushing. And I got a lot of like slack back from people like talking crap. But I mean, the truth is, I'm not selling anything.
Yeah.
Your money doesn't mean anything to me. I don't need the money. I don't need the status. The point is that I don't want my children to be growing up in a environmentally unsafe place, because the Rio Grande Valley is going to double in population by 2040. So that means that my kids are going to have kids that are going to grow up in a worse place in the Rio Grande Valley, where it's more highly toxic if something doesn't get done now. And from what I understand, when I was talking to Charlene Torres, which is a chemical engineer, she works for the Army. She has an invested interest here because her family lives here. She's working in, I think, Japan or somewhere, where she's doing work to figure out the air pollution over there to lower it. She was going to come on my podcast to help figure out how to remediate the stuff. But the problem with that is it's going to take 10 to 20 years. Yeah. So you literally have to take your health into your own hands today. Like, you have to find clean water. You have to eat healthy. You have to exercise. You have to get up every single day. You need to make sure that you're reading things to keep your mind going, because another startling statistic is 1 in 4 people over the age of 65 in Stark County have dementia.
I know. That's
so
crazy.
it's you're going to start seeing that coming into Hidalgo County, Cameron County, Willacy County. It's just a matter of time, because we're all in the same environment.
Right.
So that's heartbreaking.
It is. It really is. When my dad came down with Parkinson's, it didn't run in the family, but they were ag workers. And the doctor said, "Did you not wear gloves when you were mixing chemicals?" Again, where was OSHA back in the 60s?
Yeah.
Where was OSHA in the 50s?
Right.
Or especially here in the Rio Grande Valley, none of that was there. So they attributed it to that. Then the dementia came in, and again, so then when my dad came down with the Parkinson's dementia, then his brother-in-law, but they weren't in the same field. They were buddies. They worked together all their lives. Same thing. Then the wives and stuff. So it's just crazy how it all blends in, and it happens when it was never part of their medical history. Yeah, and that's sad.
Yeah, that's sad. That's very sad. The hereditary things. I get messages and comments every single day from people. So, for example, McAllen groundwater plume. Are y'all familiar with that?
No.
So on 23rd and Business 83, there's a McAllen groundwater plume, which was at one point 35 acres, I guess, wide. In the 90s, Coastal Mart had a gas leak, and the gas leak went into 35 acres of land where the houses and businesses are across all there. So if you look at the map, there's homes, businesses, probably schools in the area. I was pushing this like a thing hard. I was saying that the McAllen groundwater plume, nobody's talked about this, and it's still here. And to this day, at that point, at 2001 to up to now, nobody had checked on it. There was no data that was checked on it. The other day, I checked back on the TCEQ report, and it showed that the new data came out, which is on May 25th. And it still showed that out of the 83 wells, there were 17 wells that contain high levels of benzene, or levels of benzene that are not suitable for the environment, which means 17 are still contaminated with high rates of benzene that are known also to cause cancer in the area. When I put this out the first time, so many people commented, "Well, I live in that area. I know people in the area, and we've had cancer. My parents got cancer. I have cancer." And I think at one point they did a report on it, that they lit like a flame to the water, and it turned on fire. This place was so dangerous at one point that UTRGV has over 600 hours of video testimonies and documentation on it, but it's still there. It was remediated, yes, but there's still areas in that part where they're showing high levels of benzene to this day. But I say that to say that people will come on social media and tell their story because they've dealt with this numerous times, either through their parents or through them or their children. But these places exist in Rio Grande Valley, and they're kind of like nobody's talking about it, which is sad.
It is sad. And maybe they just don't know how to talk about it. Maybe they don't want to. Unseen, unheard. What is that? I don't see it. I don't want to talk about
out of sight,
outside of the mind type deal. But it's not. As our children, as you mentioned, continue growing up, having kids of their own and stuff. It's going to continue perpetuating.
Nope.
It's not going away, and we have to make some changes. So yeah.
Why do you? I had something I was curious about. Why do you feel like you get a lot of pushback on this?
I don't know. I think a lot of people think it's unbelievable, or that I'm making up the data, which I'm clearly pulling from credible sources, right? And it's interesting too, because I get it. Like, the last thing people who have cancer want to talk about is cancer. It's fine. I understand. I get it. The problem is that nobody has time to read 56-page documents or 21-page theses or government reports that are 100 pages long. But I urge you to figure out how to use AI, import this data, and then break it down into a way, because that's exactly what I do. I break these 56 pages documents into bite-sized things where I can read, and then I regurgitate that stuff into smaller amounts where I make it headliney, and I put it into a bullet points, I guess, post where people can understand it quickly and easily, because the data is not easily readable. It's accessible, but you need to break it down into a way that most people understand. And the way most people understand is exactly how I understand, which is in bullet points and small paragraphs. So I've learned, since I am from marketing and advertising, that controversy accelerates message, like 100%. It just does. And the way I push this stuff out is kind of a little controversial. I think that's why people think that I'm kind of making this stuff up. And that's why I get a lot of pushback, because of the way I present it. But I don't know how other way to present it. Like I can't put a smile to it. It's like even the documentary. When I see people leave the documentary, they kind of leave with their head down, like kind of like all without. Right. But I don't know what other way to put it.
Right.
Like our people are getting cancer. Like there's no happy ending to that. Right. The great happy ending would be if they don't get cancer. Right. And there's a way to fix this problem, which every single day I seem like it's getting further and further and further away. So I'm kind of losing faith that anything's going to happen. That's why I feel like everybody has to take their health into their own hands, because I feel, in my opinion, is nobody's coming.
Yeah. And it also goes back to when we talk about water. Just, we've learned a lot in the last 4 years that we've been here looking at. We need to read nutrition labels behind the water, because the water sometimes you think it's actually perfect water and it's not perfect water. All the things added to that water. So it's not really spring water.
Or even the stuff that's taken out of it.
Yeah.
The reverse osmosis takes everything out of it. So there's nothing good in there.
There's nothing good in there. And it's like, what? I'm not supposed to have sodium, and I'm drinking sodium and stuff. So again, we need to do a lot of education and a lot of stuff of what we're looking about to realize what it is that we're putting in our bodies and what is around there. And sometimes we just take it at face value. Oh, that's healthy. It's water.
Right.
Again, it's not necessarily.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of people that are in office and city offices, officials and stuff like that, because I'm not credible, apparently, right? But when these city officials say that the water is safe to drink, well, okay, they're telling their citizens that the water is safe to drink. When you can see clearly with the Consumer Confidence Report, all these chemicals are in it. Those are two different things. So if you're a public face and you're in charge of your community, you have a responsibility to your community to say the truth. And in a transparent way, because then somebody's going to come along and say, hey, you're full of crap. Like, this is just not true. Yeah. And then it's weird because the guy that's not credible is the voice of all the community, because nobody's paying attention to the other people.
Right.
So that becomes a huge problem.
Yeah, and I think there's something you're touching really key on a couple of things. When a politician comes in, or someone who's been elected an official comes in and says this is water safe to drink, or the environment is safe, or whatever, but do they really know exactly what's going on in the bureaucracy inside an office? How difficult it is to break into a system and change things around? Because you're right. I get the report from the water system, and I don't even know how to read it.
Right.
It's just all these numbers and percentages, and right away it's intimidating. Why would I even want to read it? Just into the trash. Let's go. So I think it's one of those things where people have to be informed going in. They need to know how to work within a system, because systems are hard to break into. Just to learn how it really runs. Yeah, it's hard. So maybe they don't even know. And I'm not defending them. I'm just being devil's advocate at this point. But you're right. I mean, we have to hold people accountable, and they need to learn what's out there and stuff. So it's
and you're right too, because I was talking to a commissioner for Hidalgo County, and she was saying that we should use school the parks, the school playgrounds and stuff like that as water retention ponds for when it floods. The problem with that is when the floods happen, all these chemicals and stuff go in there. So if they're sitting there and they got soaked into the ground, the next day the kids are going to be playing in there. They breathe in these things. So the valley is notorious for having these chemicals in the ground that get disturbed every time it rains and floods. Right. So these go into areas where our kids are now playing. Right. So I think they maybe just aren't informed.
Right.
or but they should know.
They should know. They
Right.
should know. And you're right. You know, the deal with the deal with the flooding now once the water starts coming in, especially when it happened in March, and so you start seeing all these things coming down. So we get informed it's like, oh, the water comes from Mission, it's going down, 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 and all the way it's picking up all this unsanitary stuff. People have cattle. All that's coming down into it too. It gets into your homes. It gets into everything they were doing. Then you see the kids out there playing in the water, and you're like, do they know the water is not clean?
Yeah.
But I was playing in the water when it was raining when I was little. Did I know? I didn't know. You know,
I mean, we drank from Manguera too.
Yeah, we drank the Manguera too. So it's one of those things. It's like, oh my God, there's just so much that goes into it, and I don't know that we really. It looks clean, but it's not necessarily clean.
Yeah.
And
I think the scientist Jim White that I interviewed on my podcast, he said it perfectly. Because I was saying, well, my grandpa's 95. He fished out Arroyo Colorado his life. And I was talking to my mom, and she was like, well, he has health issues and stuff like that. He has heart issues. Cardiovascular disease is very high in the Rio Grande Valley. But when I talked to Jim White, the scientist, he was like, well, your grandpa made it. Like, he's good. Like, he's fine. But everybody else, they're playing kind of Russian roulette with the stuff that they put into their bodies or they consume out of that specific river. And that's just that Arroyo Colorado. You're talking about the tap water, too, which is another issue. And then you're also talking about the Rio Grande River, which is where all the cities get their drinking water from. Well, the Rio Grande River is also highly polluted. So if you think about that, too, on the other side is the Rio Bravo. I have friends that work for Border Patrol, and some of them are retired already. And he said you see dead animals, dead bodies. So there's everything in there. The maquiladoras are dumping in a lot of stuff. And then this new 1944 treaty that we have where we're supposed to get repaid 1.7 million acres of water, that's coming from 6 polluted river sources in Mexico. They're supposed to be treated when they get here. But, I mean, I've seen reports on the Arroyo Colorado that there's 2 million gallons of untreated wastewater that get dumped in there every day. Wow. That still hasn't been disproven. And you go back to the most recent one, which is March 27th, Harlingen dumped 633,000 pounds of partially treated wastewater into the Arroyo Colorado, but they just couldn't take it. So this stuff happens often.
Often. We're just not aware of it.
We're just not aware of it. Or I mean, they put out their statements, but then again, who's reading it?
Who's reading the statement? Yeah.
I'll read it.
Yeah. Was it into you? And you can read it because I mean, again, it's one of those things where they do their compliance stuff and nobody reads it. I know I don't. I'm generalizing when I say no, everybody, but.
Well, you're practically right because nobody has the time, and nobody's gonna take these issues seriously unless one, they're probably getting paid for it, and then two, if they're working for an entity that has vested interest in it, then they're not gonna talk about it. Yeah. So it's like it's one of those things that it kind of does rely on the citizens to do the work. And thanks to y'all's site, we have data to pull from that. That's credible. That way people can't say I'm full of crap.
Yeah.
Look at these guys.
We have it here. We paid for this data. We have it here. So you had some questions for us? I think.
Yes, I do.
What are some of your questions?
Yeah,
hopefully we can answer them for you.
Yeah, let me pull it up because, like I said, I do get a lot of lash from people here in the valley, and then they're like, why are you pushing this and why are you saying this and stuff. So I think one of them is, I think you already touched on this. So can you walk us again through the different health and environmental data sets that you aggregate and where are they from?
Oh, sure. So I do not know them off the top of my head. Do you say that you know
over 60 indicators, and by indicators I mean like anything that relates to, I don't know, heart disease, prediabetes, I don't know, you name it. We have all sorts of different indicators, and they're not just relating to prediabetes and diabetes. And it kind of just goes back to what Moses was saying, that a lot of these things and issues, health issues, like they are comorbidities, yes. So that's the reason why we have them there. And RGV Health Connect is important specifically for us because when we will go out there and look for data, we didn't necessarily find anything specific to the Rio Grande Valley. So that's where RGV Health comes in. So this is publicly available data that it's either coming from the CDC, it's coming from the American Diabetes Association, it's coming from all sorts of places, but it has specifically data for the RGV Health Connect for all 4 counties. I believe you can even break it down by zip code, and you can compare it to the state and to the national levels.
Yeah, that's interesting because I did see I was clicking around it because you do have to get familiar with it. And I found that you can do it by county, but then you can also do it by zip code, which even
Right.
gets scarier, which
Yeah.
which is crazy because I was looking at binge drinking in the
Oh,
Rio Grande
yeah.
Valley. I think Port Mansfield has one of the highest rates of it, and there was like another pocket in Stark County. And people were like, "Well, what's going on over there?" So it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
kind of
very hard.
interesting data. You kind of see that it's pinpointed.
Yeah.
Another one I want to ask is what's been the most surprising or underreported health trend in the Rio Grande Valley that people might not be aware of that you've seen so far?
Honestly, right now, it was shocking news to me because when we had our last steering committee, that's when I noticed every time we have steering committee, which is every other month, we do look at the RGV stats. I pull up the stats and see what are people looking the most more at, or what specific indicators. And the carcinogens was one specifically in Cameron County. So that was shocking to me. Honestly, that's probably been one of the most things that stood out to me and that I've looked into. And I'm glad that that's the case because, like you said, there's a lot of people who might be aware of it, others are not aware of it, but they don't really know what to do with the data, right?
Right.
Or they're afraid of saying anything or looking into it because it's scary, and at the end of the day, it's kind of hard to actually make a change.
Yeah, I don't know because I feel like if enough people know about it and enough people make this is the perfect example. I know a girl Blanca I met her at one of the documentary filmings that I had, and she's like one of those people. She's like the version of me, but on the ground. Like she goes up to people, and like I can reach a lot of people online. She reaches them like one on one, and she's like very harsh. She's very rash, and she'll just say it exactly how it is. And she calls every single day to the TCEQ or the Brownsville or Harlingen and say, "Hey, what's going on with our water and why haven't you fixed it?" Like every day, it's like kind of annoyingly annoying, but I think that's what it's gonna take for
Right.
enough people to figure out. It's like, hey, these are the problems that are going on. Call your city every day until something gets done. And the problem is like you can call every day and people are gonna like just drop out. They're gonna get tired of doing it. But it has to happen over and over and over again for them to understand that this is a problem that enough people are caring about. Because if there's not enough people talking about it, then it's kind of just
Right.
forgotten again.
Yeah, and I think earlier you brought on a good point about like you have to care for your kids and the future generations. And also, if you think about it, I mean, it's important because those are the friends, those future generations, those future kids are the ones who your kids are going to grow up with.
Right.
Or they're even bound to be a partner to them or their kids. Like, so
Well, let me ask you this: how old are you?
28.
So you're 28. At one point, I don't know if you're married or not. At one point, you're gonna probably want to get married, have children in the Rio Grande Valley, and the problem with that is like, do you want your kids to be growing up in this? Like, how do you feel being a young adult in this environment? Because I'm 44, so I already have kids that are grown up. My 15-year-old daughter. I'm a different demographic. So what is it? What do you feel like?
Well, it's funny to say that because I'm actually married and I do have a daughter. She's just turned one last week, 2 weeks ago. And I think it's definitely caught my attention. Before I used to feel more careless about things and the decisions that I made for my health. Now I'm a lot more conscious and I've looked into it. I went down, I always go, David and Claire, my other coworker, always make fun of me because they're like, you go down on healthy rabbit holes. And I'm like, I do. I go into, before when I was pregnant with my daughter, I bought a book and I was looking into it and like, I was looking into the impact that even like baby products have. Like, I think it was not until the 1980s that BPA was a thing. Like, people became aware of it and how it impacts the baby's health. Because of course it comes in the baby bottles and pacifiers and all these other products. And I was just reading on a bunch of these things and the pesticides, how there's been studies done where kids have like a lower IQ when the more they're exposed to pesticides, and specifically in food and there's all these things. So I've definitely become a lot more conscious about taking healthy decisions, not only for me but for my daughter. So I do think that this is something that people need to be aware of and take action on.
Yeah. I think even one of the newer things that you're uncovering is the PCBs, like the PFAS and all that stuff. Now that city reports have to report it now, you're starting to see Mission, I think Sherilyn just reported theirs in their consumer confidence report. There was 7 different types of PFAS in there. And now you're starting to see these across the valley. So I don't even think people know what PFAS is. Like, I didn't know what it was, right? So it's kind of one of those missions that you're going on, like kind of just spreading the awareness, because these are forever chemicals. And they're also found in Arroyo Colorado and also the Rio Grande River. And they never go away, ever. So I think it's just something important. And you brought something right here that's...
Yeah, so I stepped away to get the sources, because one of the things that, so you can take back with you when people ask you, hey, where are these sources coming from? These is the list
I'll
of
just carry it
sources.
with me.
Yeah.
It's like, right here, guys.
Yeah, right here.
Laminated.
Yeah, because can you imagine the amount of time it's going to take in personnel to go through that data set just to look for the data? Someone else is already doing it, and these are the sources they're using.
Right.
They're all credible sources. It's
Yeah.
not made up sources. So
Yeah, I do have another question here too. We were talking about the obesity and the pandemic here. In your all's opinion, how is it that we have a 37% food insecurity rate here in the Rio Grande Valley, but we're also struggling from being the most obese in the nation? So do you see like the
disparity there.
disparity there? Like that's a very interesting thing, because you think about that. McAllen and surrounding cities are known as the most obese city in the nation, in the entire United States. But the Rio Grande Valley has a 37% food insecurity rate, which means a lot of people are going hungry.
Right. So, when we look at that and we look at what is insecurity, right now we have to look at where people are actually getting their food from. And you can go ahead and say, well, there's Walmart, H-E-B, that Dollar General. Now you have them from different places. You have the flea markets. You have stuff. But are they actually able to cook nutritious foods? And my biggest deal is I always say this. We have families who are working 2 to 3 jobs. And you have one household families. What's the easiest thing for them to do? Is go and pick up food at Chick-fil-A, Whataburger, McDonald's. School started today here in Wasaco. All the restaurants were all the fast food restaurants were lined up already. I was at Starbucks, people watching. Starbucks, all the huerquitos, chiquitos, they're all walking in with their Starbucks.
Yeah.
It's a status thing to me, I think. It's one of those things. So again, do people have the time to cook nutritiously? No. Are they going to pay, currently with the current administration and the changes they're making with food, are they going to pay $3 for a tomato, $10 for watermelon?
Right.
No. So we have to look at where people are at, and meet them and find out what's going on through them. For them, is it working 2 jobs? Do they not have a stove at home? Do they have refrigerators? Do they just not know how to cook nutritious? And then we talk about SNAP benefits and the changes that are coming through SNAP, especially about not being able to buy some pre-made foods already, and especially removing all the sugary treats and soft drinks from there as well. For something that we're at least I'm for at UCD, support that. Because we create a perpetual problem. First, you start them off and not eating healthy, and then later on in life, they're in Medicare, and they're a little obese and they have all these problems. We have to just go back and look at, are people getting the food that they need to survive, or are they just trying to survive and just buying whatever they can?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems right now. The other thing is, I think we need a bit more restrictions, and we have so many. I'm not knocking the taquerias. I'm not knocking them, but we have so many more taquerias. We have a lot of people selling junk food on the side, candied junk food and stuff. It's just not healthy. Once in a while, it's okay, but not every day. So I think our cities needs to go ahead and look at, you know what, we're going to approve 10 taquerias. Let's open a park. But a well-shaded park, too.
Right.
Not just a park out there where the elements are going to eat you up. Have good hydration stations. We just came back from Phoenix, and they have cold water hydration systems. I've never seen that before, where the water is actually cold at the park. It's already, because it's hot. The elements, it's hot.
Right.
So just looking at those things differently and having citizens ordinance make those changes, I think it's something that we all have to look at. We also have a big problem with smart technology. Our kids are stuck to their tablets. We're sedentary. We do not doing anything to improve our health.
And also on the other side of that too is we have a digital divide.
Yeah,
too,
we
which
do
is
have
interesting.
we do. We have the digital divide, and we talk about that too. So I have an answer for that too. While you might have a smartphone, you go to the places that have a Wi-Fi for free, and you sit there and you're on your phone watching stuff. But again, you're not being active. You're sedentary, right? And we're guilty of that. We don't have enough sidewalks. There's always ordinances that you're going to be able to start a new subdivision. You're going to have sidewalks, but then the construction guy goes to the city hall and says, "Hey, can I have an extension and not do them until I sell the houses? Well, the houses get sold and then nobody ever has the sidewalks.
Yeah.
You don't have these types of infrastructures set up correctly in the Rio Grande Valley. And then when they do try to make them, it just gets a lot of feedback and pushback from people that they don't want. It's like not even worth it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's something that we have to look at is, again, make people accountable, make them more mobile. Because when we do our presentations, when my grandma didn't have these problems, your grandma also didn't have a car and she was
Right.
walking to the store. I don't want to go to the store that's a block away walking. I would
Yeah.
get in my car.
Yeah.
So just drive to it. Drive to the drive-through. You know, we've changed our way.
For sure.
And we need to look at that and take that active role. And then, you know, I'm a bully. I always talk about I'm a bad bully. I just grew up that way. That, you know, if you're a little bit overweight, I want to give you a hard time.
Yeah.
And we tend to do that, and that depresses people sometimes
sure,
too.
yeah.
Now we're in a more, you know, when I grew up in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't.
Very touchy now.
Yeah, now it's very you were self-aware, and you have to be extra cautious of how you talk to people and stuff. But, you know, I went to visit Saraí this weekend. I took her half a dozen donuts and said, "Hey, join me in my journey here."
Yeah.
Because I've always said I'm not shy. I'm not embarrassed. I was a bariatric patient. I had surgery in 2008. I was 400 pounds. I lost it, but I battle.
Yeah.
I'm a sugar addict. I love sugar. And I go out of my way every other day to go to Alamo to the new Dunkin' Donut there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my poison.
Yeah.
And so I want to have other people go in there.
No, you hit on a perfect point because I used to be heavy. I was at 250 at some point. I've lost significant amounts of weights 4 times in my life. The other ones were through cardio, and now I'm starting to lift weights in my 40s, which I found that every man should lift weights because it's amazing. What it changes, even women, they should lift weights because it just changes your body completely. But one of the problems I had when I lost the weight, I think I lost 66 pounds at one point, and I kind of went on the health journey. It's like, you got to lose weight, you got to do this. Nobody likes to be told what to do.
Right.
So you have to say it in a way where it's kind of you're bringing them along for the journey, and even that at that point, because motivation only lasts so long.
Right.
Like I don't enjoy working out. I enjoy the benefits of it. I just don't like physically going, lifting heavy weights, and doing all that stuff because it taxes your body. But I love the feeling I get from it. I love the results from it, and plus I can enjoy junk food on the weekend without worrying about it. But I think it is through moderation. So we have to figure out a way of how to talk to people that are obese and overweight because, like I said, if I were to say it now and show a picture of myself, they were like, well, what do you know about obesity?
Yeah.
I went through it.
Yeah.
So I kind of know it, but the problem is that people are looking at you at that snapshot of that point right there, and then they're going to make their judgment. So a lot of people don't follow people's journeys, but it is important, I think, for people to talk about it because I really had to look at myself in the mirror one day and said, hey, you really need to do something before it gets worse.
Right.
And I don't think people have that conversation.
Yeah, they don't. They don't want to have that conversation. And, you know, right now we're doing, we received a small funding opportunity from the Texas Bar Foundation to do power of attorneys, which is, you know, double power of attorney and you're, or a living will or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And people don't want to.
No.
They're like, I'm not going to die. No, well, what if you had an accident?
Yeah.
You weren't planning on dying, but someone came and wrecked you, and
Yep.
you're in the hospital. Who's going to make those decisions for you? Who's going to access your bank account? We just don't want to talk about it. We don't want to admit it, and something is bad. But yeah, I like the way that you. So we were talking in a previous guest. Do you look at the scale or not? Do you?
I look at it.
Do you just get the? Because he's like, I never look at the scale. I go, I do.
Yeah, I look at it 3 times a week.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, me every morning.
Because I like to track like what I'm doing because on the weekends I'll let loose sometimes, right? And I want to know because I fluctuate between 198 and 204.
Okay.
And for that, I found that I sleep better when I'm not too like if I lose too much weight, I can't sleep at night. If I gain too much weight, I start snoring. So this is like my golden pockets where I know that my body feels good, I'm strong, I feel well, I have enough energy. But if I go past that, then I'll start losing a little bit of weight. But I like that specific thing. But it took me 3 years to figure that out. And I think a lot of people just won't go through that journey to figure that out. But it's so important because the sooner you learn it, the sooner your life quality gets better.
Yeah, but we also get really dismotivated really quick.
Yeah,
like
real fast.
Like, you know, and we were talking about it also is and you maybe want to talk a little bit about this on your journey, but If I go to the gym for a whole week and I'm still at 207, I get depressed. Yeah. Where's the donut? Like, give me a dozen
But
donuts.
I think a lot of it goes back to education because, for example, now that you're saying that, like, people need to understand that yes, you might be gaining weight, but it might be muscle weight,
Right.
and you know,
Yeah, depending on what you do.
I want to see the number go down. That's what I want. You know what I mean? My mentality.
I've noticed
in
that
my
the
head.
number on the scale doesn't reflect the body that you envision. So and really the body that you have in your mind can only be created through lifting weights. Right? Because there's a different body that you get from cardio versus lifting.
Right.
So they're two different things. It took me forever to figure that out. And if I had known that, I would just done weights a long time ago. But it just takes so long, and I don't think people really talk about that because people want stuff that's fast.
Yeah.
They want instant gratification.
So he's looking at me. Yeah, because I do. I mean, and again, it's somewhere in our brain or somewhere I was conditioned that it has to be a magic number.
Yeah.
And if it's not that magic number, something's wrong with me. I'm not doing enough. I'm gonna stop eating for a day, and then I'm gonna binge eat the next 3 days. You know what I mean? Try to make up for that one day. So I think something is off the way that at least for me, that it has to be with that number.
Yeah, the food is addicting. Like, I eat the same thing Monday through Friday every single day, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. Like, I'm not worried about what am I going to go pick up for lunch. I don't eat until 12 or 2 o'clock each day. So I do practice intermittent fasting. I'll only have coffee. But that helps me keep myself in a regimen where I go lift weights. I don't have to worry about this. I pick up stuff, put it back down. It's very easy.
Right.
Like, these are some of the most easiest things in the world. I lift heavy weight, put it back down, and I go about my day. I walk for 30 minutes or something, and I eat rice, chicken, eggs. Same thing every day, Monday through Friday. And the weekends, I'll let loose a little. But it just the less things that I have to worry about or think about, in my mind, the more things that I can, I guess, worry about, like with my job.
Right.
Something like that. So
Yeah,
it's easier for me.
Yeah, because I do my pre-meals. I cook and I do the same thing. I eat the same thing Monday through Friday, and unless I'm going to go out with a lunch meeting or something, but because I have no control over what they're providing me, but the same thing Monday through Friday, and then the weekend I splurge a little bit because that's like, okay, well, I can do this or whatever. But I think that's another thing that goes back to our food problem is or obesity rates is we don't pre-cook our meals. A lot of the mentality, like I know my sisters are like, oh, I don't eat leftovers. And I was like, what's wrong with leftovers? I love leftovers. You know, so we have to have a fresh cooked meal every day, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's everybody's picky.
Everyone's super picky. So touching a little bit about the weights and your regiment. Again, we always encourage people not to go full force.
For sure.
Because then the next day, I'm tired and the weights kills me.
Yeah.
The weights are trying to kill me. So
that's why I do it 3 times a week. I do it Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and I can recover. But also, I'm not lifting like super heavy because I'm 44 now. The last thing I want to do is injure myself, and then I got something else to worry about. Right. So I'm in it for the long term.
Right.
Like I imagine at 50, I'll probably have a 6-pack. I won't have them now for the next 6 years, but I got something to look forward to over there. Yeah, over there, because I do anticipate that I will live longer, and if I go all out right now, then I will get over lifting heavy weights. So I'm gradually lifting heavier and heavier, but it's taking me like I'm increasing the weights maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the year.
Right.
I'm not going pushing like trying to work out with these young guys that are there that are lifting super heavy weight because I'm already in my 40s, so I have no interest in that.
Right, that's no interest in it. Yeah, so recently we started, last year we started a project where we started wearing CGMs for each other, continuous glucose monitors.
Okay.
We tried it out for 6 weeks, and we just came back from a conference and they were giving them away, so like, hey, sign me up for free ones. So we learned so much that all of us could be out eating, and the food affected each one of us differently.
Wow.
We have so many food sensitivities to certain things. Some glucose didn't increase, and others it went skyrocketed. So I think it's also how we look at our food. Some things that might be triggered for you and not triggering for us. And it's really, I know that not everybody has the investment of $60 to spend on a product, but if you want to start your journey, it really helps you change those behaviors.
Interesting.
It did for us.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we talk about, it's really funny. I don't know if you have any feedback on this, but when I did my surgery, one of my buddies, or she told me, she goes, you had to mutilate your body because you couldn't do it on yourself. I was like, Yeah, I had to because I couldn't do it myself. I love
Yeah.
sugar. I love eating. I love that. But now we have the designer drugs, the
Mm-hmm.
Ozempics and all these other stuff, right? The
GLP-1s,
Yeah, you have them. The whole goal is to also change your mentality and behavior in eating.
For sure.
But it doesn't. You know what I mean? Have you encountered anything?
I haven't done that. I've been teetering on the fence of trying TRT.
Okay.
My trainer says I don't need it, so I'm like, okay, I'll believe you. And since I'm in it for the long term, I'm fine. But I am like everyone else. I want instant results.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I want big muscles yesterday. But the problem is like that it compensates for something. So it's doing something to your body that's going to take away something from your body. So it's just I don't want to put anything in my body that can lessen, I guess, my lifespan even
Right.
by a few days. So, but I do know that designer drugs and these drugs are getting, especially with like AI right now, they're getting better and better and better. So I think at some point, I was reading that probably within the next by 2030 or 2032, we will have drugs that will be able to, for every year of life that you live, the medicine will be able to give you an extra year of life. So at some point, your mortality for every year you get to live. So say I turn 50 in 7 years. If I take care of my body, I eat right, and I take that pill, I won't age anymore. So I'll stay at 50 years old for probably the next 200 or 150 years.
Yeah.
So there's new advancements in AI that will come at that point that will show that you can stay, your longevity will increase exponentially.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I was, I've
Well, the question is for who? Like,
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure that's not going to be cheap.
No, definitely not. I mean, I think at some point it will get lower and lower and lower. But for the people that can afford it, I'm sure they're going to
they're going to do
pay
it.
it.
Yeah, because I've always said I don't want to live past 65, only because that's when that in my mind, that's the magic number that decline starts. Major health and mental. And I've always said, man, watch me be a healthy person and I'm not all here.
Yeah.
I'm not in my head. Then
Yeah.
what do I do? What is my family going to do with me? It's like,
Yeah, that's the scary part because I think that's one of the reasons why I go to the gym because I want to wipe my own butt when I get older.
yeah.
When I'm 85, I don't want people to be doing that for me, and it might seem like a dumb thing for a lot of people,
No.
but I don't want. I'd rather take care of my wife
right.
than opposite.
Right.
So
right.
that's-
And I think that's something really important that you said because I was talking with him this morning. That I was talking to my buddy. He goes, "I went to walk 2 miles this morning and blah 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 and stuff." I go, "Good." I go because you have to stay healthy so you can clean my butt when I get to change my diaper when I'm ready. He's like, "What makes you think I'm going to change your diaper?" I go, "Well, aren't we all buddies? Aren't we all take care of each other?" But it's one of those things. You're right. Unless you've ever cared for someone or you're caring for someone right now, you don't know how hard it is to be the caregiver and take care of someone, and it's really hard mentally on them, on yourself, and just seeing that decline. And it's a lot of work making sure that someone doesn't get sores, doesn't get infections, doesn't get all these things, and keeping them healthy.
And that's keeping the body healthy. You're talking about keeping the mind healthy with Alzheimer's and dementia. That's a whole different thing too. And I think a lot of people just don't talk about that because I have a Alzheimer's and dementia Facebook group. And a lot of people go through this. Like I have a friend that his mom has Alzheimer's, and it's slowly starting. And they don't know what to do because it's like nobody talks about it.
Right.
Like what are the steps that you go through when your parents or friend or somebody in your family is getting Alzheimer's or dementia? Like what can you expect? What can you do? What are these steps that happens? Like if they end up leaving the house and they're walking on the expressway, like these things happen often and nobody talks about it.
And for us in our culture, and I'll talk about my family in specific. When my dad was diagnosed, it was denial, not my dad. And then when you grow up with a machista man who takes no for an answer and who's you need something, you go to dad. Dad's always there to take care of you. But now you have to take that role. It was really hard for us to be in that role, but it was even harder for him to accept that. And when of course, we didn't want to tell anybody what we're going through.
For sure.
That's our culture too. Keep everything at home. But it was really, really hard. So I talk to people: be ready for the journey. Be ready to be there because your whole life's going to change. That's no longer your dad the way you know him, or her, or your mom. You become in a different role and you become a different person trying to take care of them because you have to find everything. You can argue with them all you want, but that's not going to solve anything. I was saying a story this weekend. My dad you know, I would wake up. He would wake us up at 2 a.m. Take me home. You
Wow.
are home. This is not my home. So we'd get in the car. I get in the car, and I told my sister, okay, when we get back, you welcome him. And we drove around the block and get off the car, and he goes, yes, this is my home.
Wow.
And everything's cool, right? We lay down, go to bed, and then he's, no, take me back to the other house.
Wow.
That's my. So we did that like for a couple of months until finally I said, dude, you're killing me. We're not doing this anymore. Go to the doctor, and like we really need help. We really. But he was also one of those guys that that medication didn't work on him.
Yeah.
He was so special. Not even the medication worked on.
Jeez.
Tan fino que era el vato.
Yeah.
Pero hijo, so, but yeah, those are the weird stories that we don't realize the tolls it takes on people. And
Yeah, I think you just kind of like spelled out what a lot of people are going through in the Rio Grande Valley, because you are that demographic that deals with it, and everyone, well, a lot of people I know are in that same situation. Like they have the machismo dad, or they grew up in this environment that, you know, the dad knows all this, and the mom's a certain way too. So it's I think it's something that needs to be talked about more, because these stories are very familiar to a lot of people.
Yeah. And then, you know, when it happened to my uncle, our culture also, no me están embrujando.
Yeah.
¿Quién te está embrujando? Who's doing this to give you Alzheimer's, bro?
Yeah.
No one's doing this to you. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
But our culture goes through that so much, man. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's
so
interesting.
hard. It
to
is
say the
interesting.
least.
It is interesting. Cool.
So
Well, let me ask you before
yeah,
we
yeah,
finish off.
yeah.
What for you specifically, looking through the data that you've seen, what's like the most interesting insights that you've seen from it?
I think for us, and again, we can go into the rabbit hole into the data. I think it's just the disparity of poverty in our area, and then you look at those numbers, and you're like, how can this be, right? How can we be in such an area that's so poor? Our obesity rates are so high. We have so many people that are uneducated. They don't finish school, but the why.
Right.
What are they missing? Why didn't we do something, or what could we have done better? And I look at myself as that statistic too, because I graduated, but I didn't go to college right away. I waited, and again, I'm like, why did I have to be that way? When you look at the numbers again, I'm talking about my weight at this point. When you look at those obesity rates, and you're like, I see myself in all these numbers. I see myself in the poverty. I see myself living in the colonia. I see myself eating junk food. I see myself doing the instant gratification for stuff. What education do we need? What did I need? What did I miss? I don't know that I missed anything. I had access to fresh fruits and vegetables all the time. My dad worked in agriculture. He always brought it home. It was just, that's not what I wanted to eat. But the data does tell that story, and we just go down rabbit holes sometimes into it.
So then what is the answer?
Oh, that's the thing. I don't know, because I think everybody is fighting their own internal battle, and we have to figure out what's going on. It's just like, have you heard? Because you forget, we get detached. This is why I don't work really well with executives sometimes, because they're detached. You know, I was doing a presentation and asked people, how many of you live in colonias? Nobody lives in a colonia.
Yeah.
Then how do you know what's going on in a colonia, bro? Why
Yeah.
are you advocating for colonias if you don't even know what goes on there? Go live in the colonia. Go and see that they have no AC, that they're using septic tanks. They have no paved roads. There's just poverty there.
Yeah.
Then go advocate, come back and advocate to me. But don't tell me you're advocating for colonia when you don't ever been there.
Right.
And I'm an outlier, though, because I still live in the same colonia in the house, but I have air conditioning and I have solar panels and I have, I've upgraded my home.
Right.
But compared to my neighbors who haven't,
Yeah.
I still know what it is to struggle. But I think it goes back to that thing where I had forgotten what it was to be poor. And there's this couple that always goes to the grocery store, and I go, why are they here every day? So I had to do some digging, and I found out that they don't have a stove and they don't have a refrigerator. So that's why they go to the grocery every day, to buy their meals for the day.
Right.
We have severe poverty, and we need a lack of education. And I don't know. También there's this other thing, where it's a mental thing, bro, where people want to earn a certain amount of dollars, and they don't have the backup to earn that dollar, so they'd rather not work.
Interesting.
It's kind of weird.
And then that goes kind of like there's also mental health issues in the Rio Grande Valley, which are highly prevalent as well.
Right. And it's
just
really sad. And then when you talk about, the recent floods, and just like Friday here in Westaco, it rained really bad, and we had 2 inches of water right away. Roads were flooded. It was getting really ugly, and I was like, oh, is the rain going to stop? Luckily, it did. How many people are living in their homes and not realizing that there's actually mold growing?
Yeah.
Who don't even know what mold is or what it looks like, and they think that's fine. And that's why for me, it's like breaking down the wall after flooding. It's expensive. And do you know, or do you just wait till the smell just goes away?
Yeah.
kind of sad.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It is.
It's heartbreaking. Education, information is a huge key that we're all trying to do here, right? And I think just the awareness issue about it, because we're trying to find the people that can fix it.
Right.
So, and that's the problem, is that those conversations aren't being had by the people that can fix it.
Right.
We're great at getting awareness,
Right.
but where are the people that can help us fix this issue?
Yeah.
So if you're out there, find us.
Find us. Yeah, look for all of us. We're all here.
Right. So I know it was a little bit of a more serious topic that we touched on. Just to close.
My bad, sorry guys.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
We need,
Hard conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
We
need those
to have
hard
these
conversations.
types of conversations. But just maybe closing out, you did touch on, potentially maybe nobody is coming. But if you want to close out and give us some tips on how do we take it into our own hands, from your perspective, what are
Sure.
some tips that we can apply, today, tomorrow, as the weeks go on and years go on, just from your perspective?
Sure. So immediately, what you can do is find clean water. Get any filtration. You get a $20 one to a $250 one to a $10,000 one. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be filtered. Stop making the sopitas with the tap water, because there is known chemicals in there, and you're ingesting the stuff over and over and over again. So the problem is, it's not one glass or one thing of sopita that's going to give you cancer or anything, illness. It's the bioaccumulation that happens over time. So clean water, exercise, eat good food, eat clean, take care of yourself, read, keep your mind invested in knowledge, and keep learning, because as soon as things starts to go downhill, it continues to keep going downhill. So just, you have to wake up every day, because nobody's coming to help us.
No one's going to rescue us, right?
Yeah, no,
Right.
it's all on us.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you want to maybe plug anything before we close out here? Anything that you're working on? Where
Yeah.
can people find you? Anything like
You
that?
can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, under Joshua Moroles. I do have a new documentary called Before We Drown, which will be available to the public in January 2026. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. Anybody got?
No,
any-
ask him the last
Oh,
question.
yes.
Yeah, ask him the
I'm
last
so
question.
sorry. So I just want to time constraints, but just to close out, every guest that comes on, we always ask them this question, and that is, what would success look like to you?
Oh, success. I think if you're able to wake up and do the things that you want to do in life, and you're happy, you're fulfilled, and you keep on moving forward, I think that's success. I think meeting people, finding people that have your same interests and likes and stuff like that, I think that's huge in success. And just keep on getting up every day, because a lot of people give up.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, on that note, we thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Se acabó la música.